This is the Farms.com Soybean Report, brought to you by Mycogen Seeds. Mycogen Seeds, driven by your success.
Hi, my name's Holly Loucas. I'm a customer agronomist with Dow AgroSciences, and we're out here in a field of soybeans this afternoon. Right now it's sunny. In a minute it'll probably be raining, but that's the day it is and the way the summer's gone. We're out looking at some mid-season to late-season diseases, and I'm going to talk a bit about how you can scout for your fields for any of those late season diseases you might encounter. So one thing you need to do is you need to actually get into the field. I'm fairly close to the edge. You'd want to get 50 feet to 100 feet in and scout all around your field. Don't just concentrate on one area, but you want to look at the whole field in general. And then get right in there and reach down and have a look at your plants. So have a look. Check your flowers, look for pods, see how your pod set's going, as well as while you're there, be looking for diseases on the lower leaves, some spotting, speckling. A lot of those are caused by splash up from the soil. They have bacteria or fungi that infect the leaves. As long as they're staying on the lower leaves, the lower part of your canopy, they won't affect your yield. They don't warrant a fungicide or any sort of spray, but just something to be aware of and keep an eye on what's going on in your lower part of your canopy. Another disease to look for that we're getting into, it's the end of July, so we're getting into white mold season. White mold conditions like a nice full canopy like we're in now. They like moist conditions where there's very little airflow. So once your canopy's closed and conditions in the lower part of the canopy are getting humid, is when you want to look for white mold. And it starts in the flowers, and then the mold, it's a fungi, so it'll grow out of the flowers, grow down the stem, and produce, you'll see the fungi growing down the side of the stem and infect that whole part of the lower part of the stem, and you see some white, it's called white mold because you see some white fuzzy looking material on the actual stem. And you'll start to see, as the disease progresses, the plants start to wilt because they're not getting enough water, and then you can pull the canopy apart, see that mold, and start seeing the damage. Not a lot you can do for sprays that control white mold. It's hard to get down into the lower part of a full canopy of beans like we're in now. So a lot of that is management through either preparing the soil before you plant, wide rows, lower the population, and just keeping that airflow through the canopy will help reduce the white mold conditions. A little bit of white mold, you will see some yield damage, or you'll see a little decrease in yield, but overall it doesn't often warrant a spray. It's not that much of a problem, but you need to know it and you need to plant accordingly. And once you have white mold, it's one of those pests. It produces sclerotia that stay in your soil for years. So once you have it, you're always going to have it. So something you need to manage from year to year. Another thing to look for is a plant, something like this. This was hiding down in the beans. You don't notice it if you just look over, but once you start pulling plants away, you see plants like this. And so this can either be caused generally by a fungus, by either Phytophthora or Rhizoctonia, brown stem rot. And you can pull apart the stem, and there's some good guidelines that you can find online. There's some soybean information you get from OMAFRA or Purdue, various extension agencies that can help you identify your diseases once you're in there. Late season problems are, like I said, Phytophthora is a main one. It's a fungus. It grows in the from the soil up. It's a rot, so it's going to damage your stem, and you're going to see some lesions on there, as well as Rhizoctonia is another important pest this time of year. And with the wet conditions, it just makes it worse. That's when the fungi likes to grow. So one thing, once you've identified any sort of disease that's in your field, especially things like Phytophthora, all of the major seed companies we're breeding for Phytophthora resistance, so there are known Phytophthora resistance genes. They're listed in your seed guides, definitely in the Mycogen seed guide as well. Any company will list that information there. If you know you have those conditions or that pest in your field, you can look for a variety of soybeans that has Phytophthora a resistance gene in it, as well as good field tolerance. We also rate them for field tolerance. So it's inoculated trials or grown in a field with known Phytophthora levels, and they rate them based on how well they can tolerate those conditions. So if you have a situation where you know you have a disease, something with a high tolerance of Phytophthora and a 1 or 2 resistance genes will help you manage your population. As well, with the white mold, we screen our varieties for white mold tolerance. So there are white mold ratings on there, and if you had a field with high levels of white mold in it, then you would pick a variety that has a really high level of tolerance to white mold. The other Phytophthora, those types of pathogens, there's no known resistance genes, so nothing you can really search for there. It's all management and reducing your residue, that kind of thing. Residue helps a lot of fungi overwinter and stuff, so there's some various management strategies you can employ that'll help you control those problems. As far as that, I hope that gives you some information about how you can manage your late season diseases, and if you have any agronomic questions, your territory sales reps are there. I'm available as an agronomist to answer your questions. The information's on the website as well as in the seed guide, and you can get in contact with one of us and we'll give you some information.
This has been the Farms.com Soybean Report, sponsored by Mycogen Seeds.